Hey, welcome back. So we've covered a lot in this section. It's time to put some of it to use. So we have an exercise here that's a bit larger than what we've done so far. It asks you to define two separate classes, card and deck. These two classes could form the backbone of any card-based game you wanted to code up, poker or blackjack or any of the other card games. You would need a card and deck class, or it would at least help. So the specifications are laid out here. I want to go over some of them. So if you just want to dive into this, you can read this lecture. I think by the time I publish, these numbers will be different. But if you just look after this video, there's an exercise. You can read the instructions there, keep that open, try it on your own. I recommend doing it on your computer in a Sublime file or text editor file, and then using the tests that I've written to check your work, rather than writing everything in the Udemy browser tools, because it actually won't show you results. It only shows you the test results. So I recommend doing it on your own, on your computer, until you feel like you've got it and it's working and you've tested everything, copy and paste it into the browser, then check if you got it right. Okay. Also, I'm going to have a complete walkthrough after this. So if you do just want to build it with me, that's another option. So the rules are the specifications. There's a card class, and each card only has two attributes: a suit, which is only going to be hearts, diamonds, clubs, or spades, and then a value, ace, 2, 3, and they're all single string characters. So ace is an A, king is a K, and so on. And then all the numbers are numbers, but strings. And then the repr method should just return A of clubs, or J of diamonds, or 7 of hearts. So just the value of suit. Okay, and that's it for card. So there's really no functionality on it. It just holds some data and has a nice representation. And of course, you'll need to define a nit and that sort of thing. Deck is where most of the work comes in. So a deck class, each instance of the deck class will have a cards attribute that automatically is set to all 52 possible instances of card. So cards is going to be a list that contains 52 cards, each an actual card instance. So when a new deck is initialized, in that init, you should automatically set the cards attribute to be a list containing all of these, all instances, all possible combinations. I wouldn't manually code it. Just take these values in a list, take these values in a list, use a nested loop or nested list comprehension to create a bunch of cards and save each instance to the cards list attribute. There should be an instance method called count, which just returns a count of how many cards are left in the deck. The repr method, the representation, should just return a string like this, deck of 52 cards or 12 cards, the number of remaining cards in a sentence. And if you want to pass the tests that I've written, just make sure it matches this format. So don't do something like there are 5 cards left, say deck of 5 cards. And that's just to get the test to work if you care about that. Okay, then there should be a method called deal with an underscore deal. Again, that's to signify that a user or external code shouldn't be calling deal directly. It's for internal use. It's just a convention. And it should accept a number like 2, and it should remove that many cards from the deck, from the end. So remove 2 decks or 2 cards from the end. It may need to remove fewer though, because if you only have 1 card left in the deck, you don't want to try and remove 2. You want to remove 1. And if there are no cards left, just return a value error that says all cards have been dealt. Okay. Deck should have another instance method called shuffle, and shuffle can actually just call. You could either try and write your own shuffle, that's going to be a pain, or use random, import random, and use the built-in shuffle. But the idea is that there's going to be an instance method on deck called shuffle. So it's fine if all that it does is use random.shuffle, but you should actually make an instance method called shuffle. And an important note is that if there are cards missing from the deck, it's not a full deck, then you should return a value error that says only full decks can be shuffled. So there have to be 52 cards in the cards list. Then there are 2 more methods, deal card singular, which uses the built-in underscore deal method to deal a single card from the deck. So just call deal 1. And then deal hand, which accepts a number like 5 or 10. I don't know any games where you get 10 cards, but 5 as an example. And it should call underscore deal, and that should return a list of cards. So this should return a single card from the deck when it's called, and this should return a list of cards from the deck. Here's a quick example of how it should work. So I could create a new deck. It doesn't need any information when I make a new deck. It's always 52 cards. I call it my deck, and if I print it and I just look at what is printed out, we get deck of 52 cards. Then I called shuffle on it, and then I used deal card, an instance method, saved the result a single card to a variable called card, and I printed that single card, and you can see A of hearts. So it is a card object, an instance of the card class, but because the representation has been set, all I see is this nice little string. Then I called deal hand, which returns a list of cards, in this case 5. As you can see here, I have 5 cards in a list that I'm printing. And then finally, I printed my deck at the end, and now it tells me it's a deck of 46 cards because I've dealt 6 total cards, 5 here and 1 here. We started at 52, now we're down to 46. Okay, so if you're interested in doing this on your own, give it a shot. I recommend doing it locally on your computer, running it in your terminal, making sure things work so you can debug, then copy and paste it once you feel ready and see if the tests work with your version. Otherwise, stick around and I'll build this from scratch in the next video or two. See you then.